The January 6th committee has been holding these big public hearings where they're walking through all of the information that they found over the last year of their investigation, as well as stuff that is just all coming to the surface right now, because a lot of people are seeing the hearings and going, okay, you know what? Now I'm motivated to share what I knew and what I witnessed. And so, because of this, a lot of us are wondering, does this rise? And it seems like it does rise to the level of a crime being committed by Trump. We can't possibly live in a country that claims to be democratic, but then allows their president to work to stay in power and reject the lawful election results and get away with it. So, the question is, do a lot of people agree? Now, that doesn't play into, or shouldn't play into, just public opinion if someone gets prosecuted for something, of course. But I'm just fascinated based on, or for the purpose of Donald Trump's future political ambitions, if a lot of the country is paying attention to these January 6 hearings, and if they also believe that Trump may have committed crimes and should be held responsible for it. Looks like a lot of people in the country really do believe that. Before we take a look at this poll, you do have to keep in mind, to believe someone committed a crime and should be criminally prosecuted, that's a lot more than just saying I don't approve of them or I think what they did was bad. That's saying I think there's enough evidence to criminally prosecute this politician for what they did. So this is a strong feeling that now, as we're about to look at, a majority of the country believes. Reading from Mediaite, in a poll taken amid the ongoing January 6 hearings, voters believe that former President Donald Trump committed a crime with his role in the attack by a whopping 21-point margin. Since the hearings began, there has been some speculation about whether the evidence laid out during the hearings will become the basis for a prosecution of Trump, which is only intensified as more and more damaging information comes out. In a new poll released this week, taken after the bombshell revelations of former White House aide Cassidy Hutchinson, but before Tuesday's riveting hearing, 56% of respondents to the poll said that they believe Trump's alleged attempt to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election was a crime, versus only 35% who said they did not think it was a crime. That's huge. 56% of the country, a majority of our country, believes that Trump committed a crime, that a president committed a crime in trying to stay in power. So he attempted a coup. That's what a majority of the country believes, which is fascinating. I agree with you. I believe that Trump absolutely committed crimes in his attempt to stay in power. I think it's questionable of if he'll be able to be prosecuted for that, and that's what we're waiting to see now. And I'm terrified about, if that does end up happening, what hell is going to break loose because of the MAGA base, who would be quite upset and has been brainwashed into thinking this is all just a big witch hunt. But as I'll continue to say, the level of threat to our democracy that Donald Trump poses is deeply profound. And I genuinely believe, regardless of your disagreements with any particular person on policy, everyone should be able to come together and say, listen, we can disagree about policy later. Right now, we need to recognize that we have an anti-democratic leader who wants to become wants to get in power again, and what damage could be done to our democracy because of it. And so it seems clear as day that you would work to prevent an anti-democratic leader like that from getting in power, regardless of if you identify yourself as liberal or conservative or whatever. A lot of people just aren't being exposed to the proper factual media to even understand that's what Trump did. Or if they recognize all of the actions Trump took, they think it's because the election was genuinely stolen. And so it's a scary place to be in, where a majority of a country believes a former president committed a crime in trying to stay in power and attempting a coup. Obviously, it was a political coup. It wasn't a military coup. It wasn't the movie scene that you picture when you think the word coup, but it was definitely a president trying to stay in power unlawfully. And a majority of the country believes that, but yet there's still a pretty good chance that person could get in power again. That person has enough support in the country that is passionate and motivated enough that he could become president again, even with a majority of the country believing he committed one of the most anti-presidential actions ever, in my opinion, in a democratic country, which is trying to undermine actively the democracy that you're leading. So it's good news on the front of Americans paying attention to this information and being swayed by it. It's bad news in that even with this sentiment being out there, Trump still has the level of support needed, possibly, even though it does seem to be waning, to get in power again, which is quite frightening.